Good day, everybody. My name is Patty Angela Olipole from Group 1, and I am assigned to discuss about the affective domain. This affective domain centers on the interpersonal skills or thinking and reasoning related to feelings or emotions. This domain includes the manner in which we deal with things emotionally, such as feelings, values, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivation, and attitudes. Teachers can increase their effectiveness by considering the affective domain in planning courses, delivering lectures and activities, and assessing student learning. The affective domain contains 5 levels, from lowest to highest, and the following are receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. First is receiving. Receiving is the lowest level of the affective domain. It is simply the awareness of feelings and emotions. It involves passively paying attention and being aware of the existence of certain ideas, material, or phenomena. Without this level, no learning can occur. If information is never received and it cannot be remembered. Examples include listening attentively to someone, watching a movie, or listening to a lecture. Second is responding. This level involves actively participating in the learning process. You are not only aware of the stimulus, but you react or respond to it in some way. For example, participating in discussion, asking questions, and presenting information to others are next level skills that create stronger foundation for interpersonal connection and expression. And the three remaining levels of affective domain will be discussed by Shilami Balikog.
Good day, everyone. My name is Sheila B. Balikog. My topic is all about characterization, organization, and valuing. First is characterization. This is the highest of the affected domain. It is about internalizing values. It means acting constantly and in accordance with a set of values you have internalized in your characterization about life. Essentially, you have internalized values and let them control or guide your behavior. The second is organization. It is involved putting together different values, information, and ideas, then relating them to already held beliefs to bring an internally constantly philosophy. As we grow, realize that different values and beliefs are held and we must grapple with the conflict of such a message. To do so, our brain is engaged in organization. We will contrast different viewpoints and create our own unique system to evaluate what we see occurring based in our values. The purpose of this level is on comparing, relating, and to create the unique value system. The last is valuing. So valuing is the ability to see the worth of something, and express valuing is concerned with the worth you had to a particular object, phenomenon, behavior, or piece of information. Appreciation, justification, invitation, and demonstration are always when we show this category of thinking with interpersonal situation. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. By the way, I am Josepha Albania, a fourth-year student taking Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Today I'm going to discuss with you the new taxonomy according to Marzano and Candalo. Now before we start discussing the new taxonomy, I think it's just in right to discuss first or to talk about our proponents. First, we have Dr. Robert J. Marzano. Dr. Robert J. Marzano actually came up with this new taxonomy of educational objectives, which was published in year 2000. Because he thinks that Bloom's taxonomy has a lot of shortcomings. So he has given us a wide range of factors that would make the teacher or we as a future educators to understand our learners better and how they think. The second person that we have here is John S. Kendall. John Kendall is a Senior Director in Research at Mid-Continent Research for Education and Learning. That's McQuail in Aurora, Colorado in the US. So it's actually in McQuail where he met Dr. Marzano. They are co-workers in McQuail. He worked with clients to establish performance standards for the classroom, develop standards for principals, and identify the knowledge and skills that help the students learn. Okay, now before we go to our new taxonomy, let's first take a look at the Bloom's taxonomy. Remember, we already have two variations of this taxonomy. The first one that we have here, we have 6 levels. Okay, so we have knowledge, comprehension, application, and again, the first 3 knowledge, comprehension, and application are all parts of lower order thinking skills. And according to Bloom, the last 3, the upper 3 levels here, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation are part of the HOTS or the higher order thinking skills. Okay, so this is the old version of Bloom's taxonomy. The new one, the revised Bloom's taxonomy, is different to the old one, since instead of using nouns, now it had been using verbs. Okay, so remembering instead of knowledge, understanding instead of comprehension, applying instead of application, analyzing instead of analysis, and most notably it has reached synthesis and made it creating. Okay, it uses the term of or the verb creating for synthesis, and for evaluation it's still using evaluating, but now it is a level lower than creating. Okay, so those are the two difference between the new Bloom's taxonomy and the old version. Again, the old version says nouns, the new version uses verbs, and the old version is evaluation is its highest level, while the revised Bloom's taxonomy has created, which is actually simply says that it's the highest level, evaluating is just a second to the highest level. Now, let's take a look at the new taxonomy. According to Marzano and Kendall, okay, so this is Marzano and Kendall's new taxonomy. It does not only show us cognitive levels, unlike Bloom's taxonomy, that only shows us the mental processes or the cognitive levels. In Marzano and Kendall's new taxonomy, there are actually 3 domains of knowledge. The 3 dominants of knowledge, not just the cognitive, these 3 domains of knowledge are called information, mental procedure, and the psychomotor procedures. And they have given us the 6 levels of processing or the 6 difficulty levels. So level 1, we have recovery. Another term for this is the retrieval. Then we have level 2, comprehension. Level 3 is analysis. Level 4 is use of knowledge. Then level 5 is the metacognitive. And level 6 is the internal system or self system. As we go along with this discussion, it could be better that you have your notebook with you or a piece of paper and a pen so that you can easily shut down all the things that you're going to learn out of this topic. Okay, so again, according to Marzano and Kendall, there are 3 domains of knowledge. The ones that we find here at the side, so information, mental procedure, and the psychomotor procedures. And there are 6 processing levels or difficult levels, starting with level 1, which is recovery or retrieval, and the last level or the highest would be the internal or the self system. So now, before we go to the different processing levels, let us first discuss the 3 domains of knowledge. we have here, alright, so the first domain of knowledge that we have is the information or the clarity of knowledge. The second one is called mental procedures or procedural knowledge. Now we have also the third domain of knowledge, which is the psychomotor procedures. So let's first take a look at information or declarative knowledge. The first one is vocabulary terms. These are only composed of words or phrases. Then the second level or the second part would be the facts, which is all about the specific characteristics of something. Then we have the third part, which is time sequence. The fourth part is generalization, and lastly, we have the principle, or these are the generalization that shows relationship. Okay, now, what is the difference between all of these 5 parts of information or declarative knowledge? Okay, for example, your topic is all about Ibong Adarna. Now, as we are going to discuss the different parts of the clarity of knowledge or information. Okay, according to your information domain, if you are talking about vocabulary terms, only the first part, you only know that what is Ibong Adarna is. You only know the term is Barbania, okay, which is the kingdom or the settings of the story. When you go to the second part, which is the facts, in which you are already talking about specific characteristics, so you already know how Ibong Adarna looks, the color of its feather. You already know the family that live in the Barbanian, what was the name of the father, and who were their kids or who were their son. Okay, so you know the specific characteristics. Now the third part is time sequence. Okay, so in this case we are talking about the time sequence or the time. The next is the fourth part would be the generalization. So generalization, this can be the moral of the story. So we can say, of course, that is only one generalization out of a lot of generalization. A lot of morals that we can get from this story of Ibong Adarna. And now, lastly, we have the principles. The principles, of course, is the last part, which shows us generalizations that shows relationship. Okay, so you can say indeed, okay, so those are the principles that we can have. So again, these principles are higher than your generalization. Because principles are generalization that shows relationship. So these are the 5 different parts of information domain or declarative knowledge according to Marzano and Kendall. Now we go to the second part, okay, the second domain, which is the mental procedures. Mental procedures that we have here, if the information or declarative procedure is the human knowledge, what you know, what are the facts you know, the things that you know, the information that you know about a certain thing. Well, mental procedures can be described as how to. So these are the processes, okay? The processes of your brain, these are your mental procedures on how your brain works in acquiring a certain knowledge. So according to Marzano and Kendall, this has 4 parts, okay? So starting from the least complicated, which is a single rule. When you say single rule, this is only a small set of rules with no accompanying steps. Say for example, the rules of capitalization or capitalizing names. You don't really need to follow a lot of steps, right? In doing this, right, diba? This process or this mental procedure, so we say a single rule. This only a small set of rules with no accompanying steps or not have a lot of steps. The second level or the second part is called algorithm. When you say algorithm, this does not vary in application once learned. They have a specific outcomes and they have very specific steps. See, when you are trying to add decimal, okay, what are some of the things that you know or some of the things that you do when you are trying to add decimals? Okay, so whenever you learn this something, it does not vary in application once you have learned. They have very specific outcomes and very specific steps. So again, our example is addition of decimals. When you add decimals, you know what that you should align the decimal points. You should perform carrying over if the sum is more than 10. For example, okay? So once you have learned it, there's no variation and there's always a specific outcome. The outcome is always the same and the steps you follow are always the same, right? The third part is the tactic. When you say tactic, it does not consist of steps that must be performed in a specific order. Rather, they're made up of general rules with an overall flow of execution. Now, in your algorithm, you follow any specific rules or steps, but in tactic, you don't really have any specific steps, okay? There are only general rules with an overall flow of execution. One example that I can give you would be when you are playing your puzzle, right? When you put together a zigzag puzzle, you don't really follow any specific steps, right? There's only an overall flow of execution until such time that you can come out or you can complete your zigzag puzzle. Okay? And the last one, the highest of this would be the macro procedures. The macro procedures, of course, these are the bigger procedures that we have. These are robust procedures, very strict, that have a diversity of possible products or outcomes are involved in the execution of many interrelated sub-procedures. So one example for that I can give you is when writing an essay. Okay, in writing an essay, you have different or you have diversity of possible products. Okay, so the outcomes are different and it involves the execution of different sub-procedures. Marami kang ginagawa na mga mental procedure na ginagamit mo so that you can come up with an essay, right? Now we go to the last domain of knowledge. According to Marzano and Kendall, and this is the psychomotor procedure. According to them, the psychomotor, as the name suggests, these are physical functions that were developed without formal instruction. So these physical procedures, again, from as what Marzano and Kendall says, did not only concentrate on the cognitive domain, but they have also included your psychomotor domain. So information, mental procedures, and psychomotor procedures, now according to them, the psychomotor procedures actually has three parts. The first one is the foundational procedure. Then we have simple combination procedure and complex combination procedure. Now, when we say the foundational procedure, these are the basic parts of our movements. So, for example, static strength, the overall equilibrium or the overall balance that our body has, the wrist finger speed, how fast are we at using the wrist and our finger arm and hand steadiness, okay? How you can control your arm and your hand. Now, simple combination in this complex combination, here would be movements, but of course, when you say simple combination procedure, these are only simple ones, okay? So, for example, shooting a free throw, throwing the ball, catching a ball, those are only a simple combination procedures. Then when we see complex combination procedures, it is already combination of all your single combination procedure. For example, for this would be a playing a sports like playing a basketball. For example, when you're using different types of combination procedures, not just throwing, you're just throwing a free throw, but also catching a ball, also throwing a ball, also dribbling the ball, and so on. Okay, so complex combination procedure example for this would be playing sports. Alright, so we're done with the three domains of knowledge according to Marzano and Kendall. Now here is Roslyn Bandibas to continue the discussion. Specifically, she will discuss the 6 processing levels of Marzano and Kendall's new taxonomy.